Good evening, world. I'm Irene Pease, your friendly neighborhood astronomer. Welcome to your Thursday evening stroll around your celestial neighborhood. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm kind of running on coffee, running on those caffeine fumes this week, probably like a lot of folks out there right now. So we're going to be jumping around a bit as we have an extra treat in the visuals, at least an attempt. We'll see if it explodes, if I have to use the panic button or not. It's always a surprise. Um, but yeah, so for tonight, we're going to be looking a little bit at Stellarium, which we'll pop over to that in a bit. Right now, in the background, you can see open space. We'll be coming back to this, kind of switching back and forth. And I'm also going to try out this exoplanet app, which I really like. I highly recommend it. I think it's still free. There's some add-ons, but we'll see just a teeny tiny bit of that a little bit later. So as usual, to start off with, we will take a look at our skies, see what's happening in the skies these days. So here we have Stellarium. You can find that, download it at stellarium.org. I have it on all my devices, and I really like using it to just to see what's going to be up in the night sky when. I use it out in the field when I'm observing, when I'm observing on all the mountains and things around Brooklyn. So here we're looking from the Brooklyn sky at about now. I kind of want to rewind and just remind people of the cool stuff that's happening. I think my time got messed up. The cool stuff that's happening next month, later this month. Wow, it's already December. Okay, so they're happening this month. Jupiter and Saturn, keep looking for those. There's going to be a huge conjunction, really upcoming conjunction. And I'll be talking all about that in a December 14th live stream, the AAA's Moontopia. It's going to be episode 1, the Galilean moon. So looking forward to that. You can find that on the AAA website, aa.org. It'll be on their calendar. That's a Monday. So mark your calendar for the 21st for the conjunction and learn more about that in the upcoming weeks. For this week, what I wanted to talk about was something that I usually turn off on here. Usually I turn off these things, the meteor showers, but there's a really great meteor shower coming up this month. Not the Taurids, not that one. So we're just gonna go put along, maybe a little later in the evening. The Geminids. So the Geminids should be probably one of the best meteor showers of the year. A lot of people get really excited about the Perseids, which is understandable because it's not totally freezing cold in August when the Perseids are happening. But this year, like the Perseids were kind of like around a fuller moon, so not as cool. But the Geminids, very cool. If you look in Stellarium, they have some info for you. Basically, the rate per hour, whoops, about 150. So they're predicting quite a few per hour. So that's pretty good. That you want a big, a high number down here for like a really good, whoops, for a really good meteor shower. So check that out. And that's going to be peaking just about a week from now, right around the 13th and 14th. So if we kind of fast forward a little bit, 13th and 14th, usually meteor showers are best viewed in the middle of the night. So you want to go somewhere dark, somewhere you could stay up late. And again, for the Geminids, you don't have to stay up super duper late for this point in the sky, what we call the radiant point, for that to be really high in the sky, which is great. I'm not really staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning as often as I used to. And for the Geminids, you don't really have to. So the point from which the meteors will appear to radiate is going to be pretty high up there, up near the constellation Gemini. So again, this is kind of set for kind of that peak night around December 13th. 14th should also be pretty good. So you can see there's a couple other meteor showers happening, but really the Geminids, that's the main one that you want to check out. So mark that on your calendars. Should be really fun. But always make sure you dress really warm because it's going to be freezing cold because it's December and it's almost winter. So bundle up, bring hot chocolate, bring extra socks, dress much, much warmer than you think you need to because trust me, you need to dress warmer. You don't need a telescope or binoculars to see meteors again. You just want to go somewhere where there's a wide open sky. You can see as much sky as possible all at once, and just look up and see what you can see. So report back, let me know how that goes if you get a chance to see that. I'm hoping to go a little bit outside of Brooklyn, not planning to see too much from inside Brooklyn as far as meteor showers go. But I just want to say a little bit more about this meteor shower before I jump on to the main topic tonight. So like I said, we're going to be switching back and forth a little bit. So I'm actually going to jump over to open space. So this is all real data that you can load in to this open source software, OpenSpace. You can find it at openspaceproject.com. And what I wanted to show in here is just a couple of data sets. So here we're kind of looking at like a bird's eye view of the solar system. If there were birds in space, they would be way up here or not. But you can see in here the orbits of the inner planets. So way in here, that's our sun. We have the orbits of Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and then out here we have Jupiter. And what I wanted to show is just a couple of real data sets. First, some asteroids. So we have many, many small bodies in the solar system. Let's see if I turn on, there's the inner main belt. That's just some of them. So that's the inner main belt. And interesting thing that you see there is that it's not all like in the plane of the solar system. So this is a much thicker chunk. It's relatively in the plane, but these are a lot higher and lower above and below, so to speak, the plane of the solar system. So this is just one asteroid data set. I can't turn them all at the same time because it's just so much real data. So all of those points are actual asteroids that we've plotted. I also want to just turn on the potentially hazardous. So that's a fun data set. So these are asteroids that get a lot closer to the Earth, actually cross the Earth's path in space. And why am I showing you asteroid sets if I'm talking about meteor showers? Because most meteor showers are caused by the debris from comets. So why asteroids? Well, the Geminids are one of the major meteor showers. It's the only major meteor shower that's source body is an asteroid, which is pretty neat. So asteroids, I don't have the the particular orbit for this one asteroid. It's 3200 Pantheon, but it's a near Earth asteroid, and don't know which one of these, but it's in there somewhere. So it actually gets a lot closer to the sun than most other named asteroids. So it's kind of a unique asteroid. And just as a comparison, if we compare the orbit of a comet, so there's the orbit of a comet, right? So most comets they get really close to the sun, and then they move like really, really far out into the solar system. So usually for our meteor showers, we're seeing debris fields left from stuff that got blasted off of comets as they passed close to the sun. But in the case of the Geminids, instead of comet debris, we're actually seeing asteroid debris. So kind of a neat, fun thing. So you get some of these like kind of bigger chunks of rock and stuff. These bolides. So let me know if you see a bolide. I'll tell my observing friends, they'll go crazy. More on bolides another time. But yeah, so that's the meteor shower that you should definitely check out. Should be very, very exciting. So we can pop back over to Stellarium and show one or two other things that I wanted to be talking about tonight. Because I think tonight I said I was going to talk about variable stars. Because I've been talking a lot about stars. I need a lot of sparkle in my life right now because it's just, 2020. And so I wanted to point out a couple interesting variable stars. One that I said that we were going to be leading up to. So yeah, I need to be over in the east. So if I set this kind of back more towards now, a little bit, earlier in the evening, we have constellations rising in the east. So in the past couple of weeks, we've been looking at Cassiopeia, right? So the jaws of Cassiopeia, om nom nom, nom om nom, and the witch hat of Perseus, right? So it's these kind of two streaks here. And really what I wanted to point out is talk about this one particular variable star, and we'll talk about some others, but one particular variable star in Perseus. So this star should be that one, Algol. Okay, so there's way more information than you ever wanted to know about Algol. Basically, it's supposed to be the eye of the Gorgon. So there's Perseus, the hero, holding head he just cut off. But it's this eye of the Gorgon, and it blinks like an eye should blink, unless, the person's dead, and that's just kind of creepy. But this whole thing is creepy anyway. But anyway, so it's this binary, or well, it is a binary. It's a multiple star system, but we see it as a single star in the night sky. But because of the orientation of the stars in this multiple star system, it appears to blink as one of the stars eclipses the other. So this is an eclipsing variable star. So it's not actually that the star is changing in brightness, it just appears to change in brightness. As seen from us, as like the dimmer thing blocks a brighter thing. If this sounds kind of familiar, that's probably because you've seen it in something like maybe some of the planet hunting apps, planet hunting methods. So I actually, this is the. We'll see if this works. This is a new fun thing that I'm trying. So this is an app called Exoplanet. Again, really awesome app. And this is actually showing a planet going across a star. But you can see this kind of what we call a light curve. So the brightness that we see from the star dips a little bit when the planet blocks it, right? So it's blocking out a little bit of light. So the star appears just slightly dimmer. So this is all kind of exaggerated so we can see what's happening. But this is a really nice visual explaining the mechanics of it. So since there's a lot of exoplanets that are detected using this kind of eclipsing method, I just thought it would be nice to show. The same thing is happening with Algol. So a dimmer star is going around a brighter star. They're going around a common center of mass. And as the dimmer star passes in front of the brighter star, Algol dims a little bit, and then it brightens up again. And that happens over the course of about 4 hours or so. And this is happening every 3 or so days. So it kind of goes through cycles because it's not exactly every 3 days. But we're kind of coming up on a session, kind of a series of cycles when it's going to be kind of blinking. So it's going to be like getting dimmer and then brighter again, kind of in our evening time. So you can find the times for when this is going to be happening. I think I have a list somewhere. Yeah. So some upcoming times. So tonight, actually, no, it wasn't. That was this morning. So on the 5th, it'll be around 10:45 p.m. Brooklyn time. And then on the 8th, so another couple days, it'll be around 7:30. And then on the 11th, it'll be around 4:20. So it won't be quite dark enough. But over the next week or so, just on the 5th and the 8th, if you have a dark sky on the 5th, on December 5th, try to look out. Maybe around sunset, if you can see Algol close to sunset, and then it should be getting dimmer and then brighter again after midnight. So the kind of minimum time is going to be 10:45. And then on the 8th, you can try again. It should be dim at 7:30. That's the minimum. So then a few hours later, it should be brighter again. So you can kind of see it like blinking. So you can find more times. I just got these times from Sky and Telescope at a website that I could just drop in the comments. And you can go ahead and look up for wherever you are or whenever you want to be looking out at Algol. So kind of a fun thing. that is one variable star, but stars vary for a lot of different reasons, right? So again, this one is varying because there's another star going around it. So that's kind of cheating. But there's other stars that vary just on their own. One of the well-known ones is I wanted to take a quick look at here. It's going to be coming up a little bit later in our evening. And I'll just kind of point out where that is going to be in the sky, and then we'll jump back over to open space. So in the evening sky, you can start to see Orion up here. A lot of people might be familiar with the big rectangle and the belt. And if we advance this just a little bit into the evening, you can see below it, there's kind of a fainter constellation, Lepus the hare. So there's this hare, like rabbit, not like wig, in the the quote unquote grass. I think of it as the grass at the hunter's feet. And over in here we have Hind's Crimson Star. So if you zoom way in, I think it's this one, or that one. It's over here somewhere. Hind's Crimson Star is a really, really red carbon star. And I can't even see it. It gets really, really faint and then really, really bright again. So go ahead and sorry, I'm not finding that. But most of the time you can't even see it without a telescope. So there are times that you can see it in a really, really dark sky. So it gets to kind of as bright as like kind of our limiting magnitude, kind of the faintest things that you can see in a very dark night sky without a telescope. So it gets as bright as 5.5 magnitude, and then as dim as close to 11th magnitude. So you definitely need a telescope for that. But I just want to kind of pop on over to see some of these visuals in open space, back to open space, and kind of point out where that would be in here. So, yeah. So the carbon stars are stars that vary because they're actually changing a little bit. And carbon stars are some of my favorite variable stars because they get like really, really red. So again, as you kind of look around the sky, you can see kind of like the different colors of stars. Like you see some are like more yellow, some are more white, but even like Betelgeuse doesn't look super, super red, I don't think. Let me just turn on some constellation lines for markers in here. I'm going to make those a little bit brighter. So even though like stars that we say are red, like Betelgeuse, people usually say, oh yeah, Betelgeuse is pretty red. But if you look at it in a telescope, it looks kind of more yellowy or orange, which isn't to say that Betelgeuse isn't like really fabulous to look at. It's just that, you know, there's other there's other we'll say redder things in the night sky. And I went the wrong way. But the carbon stars, those look really red. So I remember one time I was showing a bunch of people stuff in a telescope, and I showed people like, I think it was supposed to be Herschel's Garnet Star, and some kid was like, yeah, that's kind of red. And then I showed him like Crimson Star, and they're like, oh yeah, that's red like a crayon. So the carbon stars, those tend to be red like a crayon. So just going to come down here to where it will be, again, in the night sky. So if you can see Lepus, the hare, kind of in here, and then there's like little blobs of stars. It's going to be right about in there. But just to kind of exaggerate and see, because it looks pretty, and this is what I do for a lot of my, some of the visuals. I'm going to go ahead and just turn off the sun, because we don't need the sun right now. And go ahead and just kind of brighten up the stars. So we can kind of artificially like, whoa. And that also kind of exaggerates and brings out some of the colors. So a lot of the redder stars, they're not super bright. So Betelgeuse is one of the brighter, really red stars, but the reddest stars, those carbon stars, those are a lot fainter. So you do really need to see, you really do need to use a telescope to see those in a lot more detail. So Hind's Crimson Star, again, it's kind of in here. So if you look that up on a star map, take Stellarium out into the field with you like I do, that you'll see getting brighter and fainter over the course of 14 months. So that's actually going to be at its minimum brightness, at its faintest, this coming March, right? So right now it's kind of between being, super bright, super faint. It's like mid-cycle, so to speak. But the cool thing about the carbon stars is as they get dimmer, they're getting dimmer because there's a lot more carbon building up in their atmosphere. So they get more red. And then when that gets kind of like broken up and blasted off, then they're brighter, but they're not as red. So if you want to see like a really, really red carbon star, like red like a crayon, you want to grab a telescope and find one of these carbon stars, one of those like really, really deep red points you can pick out in the sky. So that's a fun thing to try in all your spare time. So carbon stars, some of my favorites, but and there's a lot of other types of variable stars. Just kind of turn this down again, a little bit back to reality here. So there's variable stars that vary because they go kablooey, where they're really faint, and then, they go supernova or nova. We do have that data set that the supernovas. So a lot of those that are mostly in the plane of the galaxy. Yeah, they're kind of spread out all over the sky. But those are going to be like just kind of one-time things. There are some stars that get brighter and dimmer because of, explosive qualities. So like novae, there's like these cataclysmic variables that may or may not like actually repeat that, people are studying. So those are kind of in the plane of the galaxy, not too much spread out all over. Those are a bit more rare. And then the other types of stars, other variable stars that we've used, if I kind of scan up a little bit in our winter sky, they vary for other reasons. So another type of variable star that a lot of people may have heard of are the Cepheid variables. So Cepheid variables, named after some stars up here in Cepheus. So I can kind of turn on, there's Cepheus upside down. Probably can't tell, but that's supposed to be a person on a throne. Does that help? So the Cepheid variables are actually what we use to help us measure stars, to measure distances to fainter star clusters, so groups of stars, even in other galaxies, like in the Andromeda galaxy. So that's a nearby galaxy to us. So we can actually see some of the stars way over there. And if we can see some of these variables, we can figure out how far away they are based on how often they change their brightness. So going through these cycles. So the variable stars come in a wide range of periodicity. So like I said, Algol varies like every couple days, whereas Hind's Crimson Star, that star in Lepus, that varies over 14 months. So we have quite a range. So some might take even longer, like a couple years to change in brightness. But if you find like some variable stars in some cluster, like maybe not the Pleiades, but a similar kind of cluster, then you can actually measure the distance to that. So just one last thing I wanted to share, I guess, with Algol, and then maybe we can fly out there because I need to just get out of town a little bit. If you are watching Algol and you're trying to figure out if it's blinking or not, so here's Algol again in Perseus. So you just turn on. There's Perseus for you. Right, so head in a slightly different place. But so this bright star here, so here it's shown relatively bright, but it gets, about as bright as the star. So this is Almach. This is a very popular binary star in Andromeda. So we have the constellation Andromeda here. So that's a nice colorful binary. So that's about as bright as Algol would normally be. But then when Algol is blinking, when it's fading, it gets down to the brightness of the star over here in Perseus, so kind of its little neighbor in space. And they are actually not too terribly far from each other. But if you're trying to figure out is the star blinking or not, just compare its brightness to this other star, like right along the witch's hat. Is it more close to the brightness of this one, or is it more close to the brightness, if you can find Andromeda, is it more close to the brightness of that one? Not quite as bright as this one over here. But yeah. So let's just actually fly out because we can. I just want to turn off the supernova remnants before we do that. And I have kind of a little cheat sheet here. If I can play back, jump. Yeah. So if we kind of fly away from our solar system without a sun, because I turned off the sun, we can fly out and actually see where Algol and that other kind of bright star that was near it. There we go. So there's the kind of bright star that's near it. You can see that it is actually brighter than that intrinsically. So out here, this bright one, this is Algol, or the Algol system, I should say, because we found that it's actually more than one star there. And then the other star, that's Rho Persei. So that's what they would look like from far away. Yeah, so there's just a little bit of some variable stars. So different stars, vary for different reasons, whether they have a little partner that's blocking some of their light, or if they have kind of funky atmospheres that are getting thicker and thinner, or if they, are just feeling really crotchety one day and decide to explode. Just kidding. They don't really decide. A lot more physics leads up to that. But those are just some of the variable stars that are near us that you can see in the night sky, and then also that'll help us measure to the much further things that help us measure to nearby galaxies, etc. So I am letting the sun go down. Normally I end back at in our solar system, but because 2020, we're just gonna move away. We're just getting out of here. So that's the tour. Sorry we didn't end where we started, but that's okay. That's why we have space. So thanks so much for joining me. Again, I'm Irene Pease, your friendly neighborhood astronomer. Just taking a little stroll around our celestial neighborhood. And again, the visuals that we saw tonight, we had Stellarium, which you can find at stellarium.org, Open Space, which you can find at openspaceproject.com, and the Exoplanet app, which you can download from your app store. And you can find out more about that at exoplanetapp.com. Thanks so much for joining me. Clear skies, be safe out there, and wear a mask.